Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chili here. The other night I did a tier list for the best looking men-at-arms in the game, and you guys really seem to enjoy that video. So today I've got another one for you. We are doing a tier list of the best looking Lancer / Knight unit in the game. Every country around the world, ranging from Mali all the way over to the Rus, including all the civs in the new Sultan's Ascent expansion as well. We'll start with just calling out the tiers here. At the very top, we've got the Drip. After that, we've got Absolutely Delicious.
Yummers.
Followed by
Nice.
And then Lame AF, and then finally, it's a literal garbage bin. Hopefully they figure something else out with this character design, because it needs to go back to the drawing board. Alright, let's go ahead and get into it. We're starting with the English. Now, the English Knight, not a unit that you see too often. Most English players go for longbow spear or maybe crossbow spear. Very rarely do we see the Knight. Sometimes if people are going for the Abbey of Kings landmark, they'll go a little bit heavier into horsemen and then transition into knights. This all being said, it's kind of a shame because the English Knight is a good looking unit. In H3, it's a little bit basic looking. You know, it's got the metal armor, which doesn't look bad. The horse armor looks kind of just bland. But then in the Imperial Age, English Knight looks pretty solid, actually. I don't know if I'm, I mentioned in the last video that I'm not a big fan of the English having the Soleil helmet. I just don't think it fits the English identity all that well, especially when there's so much overlap with what the Germans have in this game. But the horse armor here looks absolutely crispy. This is probably one of the best looking horse armors in the game. So, I'm gonna rank it pretty high. I think this is gonna be up there. This is gonna be an absolutely delicious. I'm gonna put it here from now. We'll see how we feel about that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and move on to the Rus Knight. Oh man. So Rus happened to be the winners of the Men-at-Arms competition, the #1 most awooga Men-at-Arms looking unit in the game. Probably one of the best looking units in the game as a whole, not just as the Men-at-Arms. But how will the Knight variant fare for the Rus? And I gotta say, this is a good looking unit as well. Once again, we get the triangular shield. No other Knight has this distinctly Eastern European design. The horse armor, we also see this like fur trim on the horse, which is really nice. In the Imperial Age, we see this like very distinct kind of pattern on the bottom of the horse here. This helmet is something that we see very similar to the Rus Men-at-Arms. I don't know what the shoulder pauldrons are. These shoulder pauldrons are a little bit weird looking. I'm not sure if that's made up or if that's actually got some historical basis to it. The helmet design for the Feudal Age, this is like some proper looking, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this looks exactly like what a Russian, what's it called? Druzinha? Like the Russian noble helmet that you see so often. If you've ever played Mountain Blade, you're probably familiar with this kind of helmet design. Pretty iconic look. In the Castle Age, this almost looks like a Byzantine style helmet, which kind of echoes the Rus's influence from the Byzantines, which is something that I think is a really cool reference to. And then in the Imperial Age, the lance is a little bit boring. The leg armor is a little bit, I'm not sure if the Rus had armor like that, but overall, this is one of the best looking knights in the game. If you ever see this in game, I know it doesn't look like too much here, but if you ever see this in game, especially when they're wielding those poleaxe weapons after you get the upgrade, this is easily one of the highest quality knights in the game. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. It's got the drip. I don't know if it's gonna be #1, but we're gonna put that there for now, and we'll see how it fares in a little bit. Up next is the HRE. Now, the HRE Knight, much like the English Knight, it's not their bread and butter. It's not the unit that you see them making the most. HRE really loves spamming infantry, so you're gonna see a lot of men-at-arms and mixed up with lance connects. But the Knight shouldn't be slept on, especially if you get the minework. If you get the minework landmark and get the unique Knight armor upgrade in that landmark, you can actually make these guys probably one of the tankiest units in the whole game, easily one of the tankiest knight units in the whole game. And in the H3 version of this knight is just like full metal. When you see it in game, it's just fully shining in silver armor. That's pretty badass looking, I'm not gonna lie. When it hits the Imperial Age, the horse armor looks really good, but then the knight itself has these like cloth shoulder pauldron things that just look a little bit like it's doing too much. The cape is also doing a little bit too much. I want to like this armor a lot. I especially really like the Castle Age armor. Obviously the Castle Age armor looks really good with the Soleil, which seems to fit the German identity. So I'm gonna put it, this is also absolutely delicious. The Imperial Age knocks it down a little bit. I'm gonna debate a little bit which one's better, because the Castle Age English Knight doesn't look all that great either. In fact, it actually looks very similar to the German one. I think the English goes a little bit lower. Yeah, the English are going to go a little bit lower than the German ones, and we'll see how it stands in a little bit. Let's compare with some of the other ones. The Order of the Dragons variants of the knight. These are Gilded knights. In this case, we see the Castle Age version as well as the Imperial Age version. Once again, borrowing a very similar design here, just with a slightly different touch up in the skin. But I gotta say, that slight different touch up in the skin is all you really need. All of a sudden, the Imperial Age version of this knight just looks so good. I'm sorry for the pixelated images. This is the best I could do from finding it from the wiki. But hopefully you can kind of imagine in your head what it looks like in game. I know that when I make these order knights, I feel like a badass. These guys are humongous. They got big ass weapons. They got a damaging charge. They're scary as fuck. They don't die at all. And yeah, these guys look pretty good. Even the Imperial Age versions. I'm gonna put this. I think these guys got the drip. Honestly, there's just a slight retexture is all it needs. All of a sudden, it looks badass as hell. All right, let's move on. We're gonna look at the Abbasid Lancer unit. Now, the Abbasids have very interesting design here. I mentioned previously when looking at the Ghulams that I wasn't too used to looking at Middle Eastern armors. And once again here, a lot of this armor, especially the Imperial Age variant of this armor, is not something I'm too familiar with. The horse armor as well. It's got this like tail design thing. We actually see the same thing in the Delhi Sultanate, I think. Yeah, I think the Delhi Sultanate and the Abbasids have... Oh, actually, the horses are just the same armor styling. Okay, interesting. So the horse barding is just like, I guess, this generic Muslim horse barding style. That kind of makes sense, I guess. But, you know, if I had to compare the two, I definitely think the Delhi variant looks a lot nicer. You know, it's got the more distinct helmet, and it's got this like fur trim. This is very similar to what the Delhi Men-at-Arms looks like. But then the helmet here is very distinct from what the Delhi Men-at-Arms has. And then the Abbasid variant, you know, this little shoulder armor thing going up here kind of reminds me of the Ghulam. The helmet's not that similar. The lance styling on both of these lancers is a little bit like, you know, it doesn't really make sense. A little bit too European of a design, but you know, I think the Abbasid one, it's nice. This is nice. Abbasid one's nice. The Delhi one, I think that, oh man, the Delhi, this like helmet with the coif here, it looks pretty damn good. I think this is up here. This is definitely up here and absolutely delicious. I don't know if it beats the other two knights that we have here already. I'm gonna put it here for now, and we'll see how we feel moving forward from there. I did not know that the Muslim horses all had the same barding. That's kind of a surprise for me. All right, up next we're looking at the Abbasid variant, the Ayyubids. The Ayyubids actually don't have the standard Lancer available to them. Instead, they have the Camel Lancer, which is a unique unit for them. Functions a similar role to the Lancer as an armored heavy cavalry unit, but it charges a lot more often, and it deals a lot more damage when it's charging, and of course it has that camel debuff. And along with that, we have this camel armor here, this kind of scale mail that you see attached to the camel. And then in the Imperial Age, it looks like the scale mail actually turns black. I don't remember this happening in game necessarily, but I'm gonna go ahead and just trust this image. I think this is what it looks like. I definitely remember the gold trim. The armor that we see on here is also something that I'm not really familiar with. These shoulder pauldrons are just absolutely massive. It kind of looks like something out of Warcraft. The shields are very standard. They're the standard Abbasid shields. I gotta say, I don't know if I like the way this unit looks. In general, like, you know, the Ayyubids, they did famously employ camel lancers. This is actually historically true, but I don't know if they had like heavy armored cataphract style camels, and if they did, I don't know if their armors look quite like this. So I'm a little bit... It's nice. It's nice. It's not bad. It's definitely not a bad look, but it's on the lower end of nice. It's kind of very whatever looking. It's not very standout. We'll go ahead and move on to the Byzantines next. Now, for the Byzantines, they've got the Cataphract. This thing replaces the Knight. It doesn't have a charge. It's extremely expensive and extremely tanky as well. It's got one of the highest health pools of any unit in the game. It's got a ton of armor, and the Byzantines have access to various different healing abilities, either from the Hippodrome with the Triumph ability, or from the Cistern of the First Hill, I think it's called, with the gulping ability, the Pilgrim Flask that they got over there. In general, when you see one of these on the battlefield, it won't goddamn die. And it also has this charge ability. Even though it can't charge normally, it does have a special charge ability that allows it to gallop through the enemy and just trample over everybody. That's pretty badass. Very, very iconic unit. When you see this on the battlefield, it's always a blast. Either fighting against these guys, well, actually, it's not a blast fighting against these guys. It's terrifying fighting against these guys, but it's a blast seeing these guys on the battlefield when they're your allies or when they're your own units. Now, that being said, how do they look in game? Now this Castle Age design, I included this one here because it shows the original shield, and then you can actually get the teardrop shield upgrade, which gives them this like different kind of patterned shield design. The sword is very distinctly, it almost looks like a, what's it called, like a Xiphos, like a very distinctly Greek style sword. It's got this like an outer blade here that kind of sweeps back inside. Really, really, really unique sword design. I love that they included that detail there. The face mask in the Imperial, obviously the Imperial Age with the cape and the face mask and the horse armor, easily one of the best units in the game. Absolutely terrifying to look at, badass as hell, so iconic looking. In the Castle Age, it's a little bit more boring looking. You know, it's got a tiny little plume on top of its head. The helmet's a little bit more basic. The armor is this like padded cloth over some chainmail. Not bad, just relatively simple. Overall, how do I feel when you see this in the Imperial Age? It's kind of a nutty unit. But when you see this in the Castle Age, it's just okay. But there's so much. This unit gets so many style points for the way they trample over other units. I think this is going to be at the top of absolutely delicious. This is absolutely delicious. It doesn't quite got the drip, but it's absolutely delicious for sure. I'm going to put it over there. All right, next we are looking at the sofa. Okay, so the sofa, I have criticized this design on the Reddit forums for a while. The design for the sofas, especially the one that you see the most often in game, which is the fully upgraded version. So something I want to call out here is that the sofa's aesthetic will change. As you can see here, you got the I think this is the Feudal Age sofa, the Castle Age sofa, the Imperial Age sofa, and then if you get the upgrade, which is also available in the Castle Age, by the way, I forgot what it's called. I think it's called imported armor. You get access to this type of aesthetic where you see, what is it? You see like this banded gold metal armor, this breastplate here, as well as this like metal helmet up here with this like neck guard that you can't quite fully see here. This design looks like something out of Benin, which is something I've criticized with the Mali faction before. A lot of their unit designs, like the javelin throwers, the Musafati warriors, a lot of their units actually come from the jungle African kingdoms like Benin or Dahomey, and it just I don't feel like it makes a lot of sense for Mali to get units from that region. The other designs though, with the turbans and with this helmet, this looks like more or less how I would imagine a Malian warrior looking like. I would like to see maybe chainmail barding on the horses, but you know, maybe they wanted to represent that the sofas were not too well armored compared to the regular knights, because these are technically more of like a hybrid knight and horseman type of unit. They're a little bit lighter armored, they got lower health pool, but then once they get the imported armor upgrade, they're actually one of the most armored knight type units in the game. So I would like to see some horse barding to kind of represent that. And then the shield here also just looks, it's kind of like a generic African shield. I'm not sure it makes a lot of sense to that horseman would be wielding these shields on horseback. And then lastly, of course, the name of sofa really doesn't make sense. And I promise I'm going to go through the whole Malian history faction analysis at some point, but sofas historically were known as the horse guardians, not because they were the guys riding on the horses, but because they were the servants literally guarding the horses. The actual knightly class in Mali were known as the Farima or the Ferrari, and that's what this unit should be known as. And how cool would it be if we got a knight unit literally called a Ferrari? That'd be hilarious. So how do I feel about this design? Well, I think, you know, judging from like the history perspective, judging from the way it looks in game, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of this design. I'm tempted to put it in the trash because I think it should be reworked, but it might just be lame. I'm gonna put it in the trash. I'm gonna put this unit in the trash. This is a unit design that I really hope, genuinely hope, gets reworked sometime in the future to make it a little bit more distinct, and I hope they change the name as well to Ferrari or Farima just to be a little bit more historically accurate. It just doesn't make sense to call this unit a sofa. It's such a weird, I don't know, I don't get why they decide to move in that direction, but at least there is some representation for the Sahelian empires. All right, next up we're looking at The Drushi, I think, oh fuck, I actually forgot this unit's name. I think it's called Imperial Guard, because we already got the Palace Guards. Now we get the Imperial Guards. Yeah, this is, I hate this unit. I'm just gonna say it right now. This is a terrible unit design. Actually, we'll go ahead and pull up the Chinese Lancer at the same time. These units share the same horse barding style, which is actually a really cool design here. It kind of reminds me of the Qing Dynasty style Brigandine. I've never previously seen horse armor like this, but you know, it's plausible that something like this exists. The whole Lancer seems to be covered by this, but we'll talk about that Lancer in just a moment. The Imperial Guard is a huge missed opportunity. It's a Lancer unit that can't charge, so it doesn't actually have a lance. It's more just like heavy cavalry. It's got a lot of melee armor, not a whole lot of ranged armor in comparison, and it's only available in the super late game when you unlock the Dynastic Protectors technology from, shoot, there was like some H4 landmark that you can unlock the technologies. I forgot the name of it. But in any case, this unit is such a missed opportunity because I really wanted to see the Iron Pagoda cavalry make it into the game. The Iron Pagodas are such a distinct Chinese heavy cavalry unit. They look extremely badass. They have a very iconic look. They're a good representation of super heavy cavalry, and the Imperial Guard clearly borrows some kind of aesthetic inspiration from the Iron Pagoda cavalry. So why didn't they just go the full way and just call these guys Iron Pagodas? Yeah, this unit's trash. I'm sorry, this unit's trash. I also, like, you know, if it's not Iron Pagoda, I don't know what this is based off of, and the naming structure, just like, we already have a Palace Guard, why is this an Imperial Guard? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, I don't like this unit. Get rid of this unit, please, and just call it something else. All right, now we're looking at the Chinese Lancer. Now, the Chinese Lancer, I've got some thoughts on this one too. One, I like the Guandao, so this is the same weapon that the Palace Guards use, so interesting callback. It's cool that they're not using like the European style lances. It's a little bit weird that the Middle Eastern units are using these like European style lances, but the you know, at least the Asian units have their own style of weapons. Obviously I love the red tassel here. The shape of the Guandao looks really good. The armor on these units, now the armor for the Castle Age version of the Lancer, you know, I like the horse barding. It's got the scale armor, this lamellar looking armor. Same thing goes for the rider here. The helmets is where things are interesting. The helmet is very distinctly Tang Dynasty style helmets with the flaps here. This is almost reminiscent of like what the samurai wear, and I'm sure that there's like some influence cross-culturally between the Tang Dynasty helmets with the florals and the samurai helmets with the florals as well. It doesn't quite feel all that iconic to me though, because I don't know, I'm a little bit disappointed. Like, on the one hand, yes, I like that this kind of helmet design is being represented in this game, but on the other hand, I would have liked to see a little bit of differentiation between the Castle Age version and the Imperial Age version, simply because there is a different style of helmet that's very, very iconic in Chinese folklore and just like any kind of fan of Chinese medieval warfare stuff. You'll see this helmet design, and I'll put it on the screen here. It's like, it's kind of like as iconic as like the armet in European helmet. If we had knights in this game and we don't have the armet, or we don't have the great helm, and currently we actually don't really have a knight unit with a great helm, which is kind of a disappointment as well, but the armet is such an iconic medieval knightly design. I don't know what this is called, but this style of Chinese helmet is also such an iconic Chinese design that it just doesn't make sense that we don't have that representation in this game. Even with now 2 variations on China, we don't see this style of helmet, which is kind of a big shame to me. I think overall, I think I might put this in the lame AF category. Oh man, do I put it in lame AF category? There's a lot of things that work pretty well with this unit actually. Oh man, I don't know. I really wish they used a different helmet, but it's not lame. It's not lame. I think it's nice. This is a nice looking unit. It's actually better looking than the Abbasid Lancer, gotta say. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put it there for now. All right. Next up, we're looking at the Ottoman Lancer. Now, these guys used to be called Knights, and it's a little bit confusing because in-game, the Sipahi are actually light cavalry units in the game, but in real life, the Sipahi were more often deployed as heavy cavalry. So honestly, to me, it makes more sense that these guys be called Sipahi, and then the light cavalry unit should be called like a Kenchi or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry guys. If you look at it from this perspective, when we have it zoomed in like this, the armor on the Knights are relatively basic looking. It's just kind of like big blocks of metal, shoulder pauldrons with these like banded rings, chainmail designs. this banded metal horse armor, it looks kind of whatever, but when you see this unit in game, it's so shiny. The metal on the back of this horse, especially in the Imperial Age, is so crisp and just so bright that you just cannot help but notice this unit. This is easily one of the prettiest units in the game when you see it in game. It doesn't look like much here, but I promise you, when you see this thing, you'll definitely be like, holy shit, the Ottoman players building Lancers, and those guys look sick as fuck. This unit's got the drip. This unit's 100% got the drip. I don't know if it has as much drip as these other guys, but it's 100% got the drip. All right. Next up is the Mongol Keshik. The Keshiks, much like a lot of the other Mongol units, they have both male and female versions. And as I've now learned from the previous video, you guys were all kind enough to inform me that Mongol units don't actually have very distinct designs between their Castle Age and Imperial Age variants, simply because the Mongols originally, while they're developing the game, they weren't planning on the Mongols having access to the Imperial Age. So as a result, a lot of the Mongols units don't have distinct Imperial designs. Instead, there's just like a slight reskin. We see some like gold accents here just to emphasize that this is a elite unit, an elite Imperial Age unit, not just a Castle Age unit. The Keshik looks really good. It's got this face mask. It's got this very heavy looking armor, kind of looks very similar to the Chinese Iron Pagoda cavalry, if I'm being honest with you. But the fact that it doesn't have, I've got some problems with it. One is that the Keshiks in game are actually one of the weaker knights. They're almost paper thin. They have very low HP pool compared to the other units. They also have relatively lighter armor, and they move a little bit faster, is what I recall. I like this like halberd style weapon. It's very it's like an Asiatic halberd style weapon. This is really cool as well. But the armor that I'm seeing here looks so heavy, and then the unit itself is pretty paper thin, and then that combined with the fact that it's the Imperial Age variant just doesn't really have that extra kick to it because it's just a little bit of retexture, makes this unit fall just short of being like one of the drippiest units in the game, I think. So how do I feel about the Keshik here? I think I don't feel it's definitely not got the drip. It's not all the way there. It's not perfect. It's close to absolute delicious, but not quite there. I think I'm gonna put this in the nice category. It's not bad. How does it fare compared to the Chinese Lancer? I think it looks better than the Chinese Lancer. I'm just gonna say it. The Mongol Keshik looks better than the Chinese Lancer. Those bunny ears on the Chinese Lancer just look a little bit dopey, eh? All right. And next up, one of the most iconic knights in the game is the French Royal Knight. A unique French unit. This is not your standard knight, simply because it's got a very, very powerful charge that also augments the attack damage that these knights will do afterwards, and it can get access to some upgrades that like royal bloodlines, which makes these knights a little bit tankier than most. First off, I love this bassinet helmet with the pig snout face mask. Very, very iconic. I'm glad that it's getting represented in the game. I love the way these units sound, by the way. The French Knights are just, they have such an iconic voice to them, and it's like so chivalrous and full of haughtiness and nobility. I think it's perfect characterization. The horse barding itself, a little bit boring, it's just kind of a cloth until the Imperial Age. The shield design is really sexy looking, though. I appreciate this. This is almost like a jousting shield. They even got like this little divot here where they can put their lance. All of that very iconic. The plume looks great. In the Imperial Age, the Lancer really comes to its own, though. It has everything just kind of works together so perfectly. The plume, if you see these guys in the game, you'll see like 30 of them running into your base. You know the game's over. You see that heavy armor, you see the shininess, you hear they're fucking so full of themselves while they're charging down your villagers. It's so annoying. But like and the armet design just looks great. This is one of the nicer looking units in the game. Yeah, as much as I hate looking at them when I see them in the game, they're delicious. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and actually, how did they compare? How did they compare to the HRE and the English Knights? I think they look better. I think they look better. Yeah, I gotta give props. The bassinet with the pig snout helm, very iconic. The salets are just not doing it for me. Not doing it for me. Yeah, I'm gonna put it right there, right in front of the HRE. One of the better looking knights in the game, and you know, go figure, it's one of the more knights that you'll oftentimes see pretty much in every single game if you play team games especially. Alright, we got a little bit of a bonus unit here. We're gonna do the king. This is the English king. I put it here because it is kind of a knight unit. It's a heavy cavalry unit. It's available when you build the Abbey of Kings landmark. It is I think the model is just ripped from the campaign. It heals all the units around it. It doesn't really make sense though as a design. It's got this like, I think this is a French horse barding right here, right? Is this the French horse? No, it's got the English horse barding. Okay, so the English horse barding looks really good. It's one of the better horse barding that we see in the game. Oh, it's actually the same model, just a slightly different texture, it seems like. Yeah, the French one looks like it's made out of like a MacBook cover or something. It's like got this like white metal to it. The German's got this like shiny metallic surface, which is easily the best looking version of this horse armor. And then the English have something in between, which looks like just stainless steel. That's interesting that they gave a slightly different shader. They applied a slightly different shader to each of the horse armor styling. But in any case, with the English king, the helmet and the chainmail and the crown, and then it's wielding like a Zweihander type weapon. It's just a lot of things just don't make any sense. This is lame AF. I'm gonna put it in the lame AF category. It's not quite trash because it's not that big of a deal. It's not a unit that you'll see too often. It's not necessarily meant to be iconic. But it's okay if it's like a little bit of a fantasy unit here, but it definitely doesn't look that great. It's a little bit lame. All right, let's move on to okay. We've got Jeanne d'Arc. You guys know her. You guys hate her. Heavy cavalry unit. In her Castle Age form, she can solo the White Tower, a whole ass landmark and keep. In her Imperial Age, what can she not do? She's literally got a gun. Like, I don't even know what to say. This unit looks absolutely ridiculous. The armor looks good though. The armor looks good. The French horse barding here looks good. The unit is a very high quality model, if I think about it, this unit deserves its own category. It deserves its own category. We're gonna go ahead and move it. She's her. This unit, she's her. She's got her own category. You wish you could be her, but you can't. Jeanne d'Arc, ladies and gentlemen. And I actually forgot one unit here. I can't believe I forgot it. I'm gonna pause the video here and I'm gonna be right back. Okay, there we go. Hopefully you guys didn't have to wait too long there. For our last unit, we've got the Mounted Samurai. Currently the flavor of the month. Everyone and their mother seems to be playing Fast Castle Japan, spamming a shit ton of these guys out of a stables that's empowered by Yorishiro, and for good reason, for good aesthetic reasons. These guys have got the drip. Like, just look at them. Now this is one of the more interesting units in the game because it actually goes through a bunch of different variations. Obviously, I want to point out a few things. One, it is wielding a naginata instead of a lance, kind of similar to how the Chinese lancers are wielding guandaos. So it's got a similar-ish weapon, like a bladed sword at the end of a long stick. It does have different kinds of armor evolutions as well. So for the Castle Age, we see this kind of like metal horse armor, as well as like these boxy style body armors. And even in the Imperial Age version, all that happens is the helmet gets a lot more badass. We get this really cool, evil looking face mask, as well as these the box armor still stays the same. The horse gets this like awesome dragon crest helmet thing, and we actually have the exact armor in a museum that this is based off of, and I'm really impressed with what they did in the game. It looks just like it. It actually looks amazing especially when you're zoomed out. When you're zoomed in like this, it looks a little bit, a little bit corny, a little bit tacky, a little bit low res, but when it's zoomed out in the game, it looks amazing. I promise you that. And then actually, I don't know if you guys know this, I actually did a custom game, zoomed in there with the free camera mod to try to take these pictures here. Once you upgrade it in the Imperial Age with the Domaru armor, they actually look like this. They get this rounded armor designed here. It's no longer the boxy armor design, so this rounded armor is a little bit more iconic for the Sengoku period, whereas the boxy armor is more like what is it, like Kamikura shogunate, like a little bit before, basically, before the main samurai period that you're most familiar with. And then they also get this really badass looking helmet with the horn and the mustache. Oh man, I don't know how you top this like badass looking demon helmet. You actually get an even cooler one here with the mustache. I can't even tell when I'm playing the game. When someone gets this armor design, I can't even tell the difference. I wish it would be a little bit more distinct when they get the upgrade. At least maybe the shield should change. And speaking of which, the shield is I don't know if it fits. I feel like Japanese shields, from everything I've seen, Japanese shields have a box design or square shaped design. It's a little bit more iconic for this faction. The silver shield is a little bit just kind of dull and basic. It serves, I mean, I'm sure Japan had a silver looking disc shield at some point in their history, so it's not ridiculous, but it just, I don't know, it's not as iconic looking. And then the other thing I want to say is that Japan, I've said this before many times if you've watched this channel, Japan did not have heavy cavalry. They barely used cavalry as mounted melee fighters. They mainly used cavalry in the form of horse archers, samurai horse archers. For most of their samurai were horse archers for most of their history, and even in the Sengoku period, we don't see heavy lancers the way you would see on the Eurasian continent. So in my design for Japan, I actually didn't give them the lancer unit at all. I'm a little bit weirded out that they would add such a powerful lancer unit, no less. This is actually not just a regular lancer, it's actually way better than your regular lancer. It's even got that Do Maru armor upgrade. So there's just a little bit too much going for this. So the historical accuracy, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but oh my god, I cannot deny the drip. I'm just gonna say it, this is the best looking lancer unit in the whole game. This is it. We found him. We found them, ladies and gentlemen. We actually have a winner that beat out the Rus. The Rus were going really strong. They were almost going to go 2 for 2. But I gotta say that the mounted samurai, they've got the drip. They've got all these different variations. They've got the face mask. How can you beat it? How can you beat it? Their fucking horse has dragon horns on it. Like, that's insane. That's insane. Yeah, easily the best looking knight unit in the game. And then of course, I just want to also throw out, we've got the samurai bannerman, the Bannerman in this case. A lot of similar designs. We've got this evil looking face mask. We've got this rounded armor that looks like the Sengoku period. I like the black on gold aesthetic. This looks really good as well. I like that the horse is not crazy barded like it comes from fucking Mongolia. Instead, it has just these tassels. Obviously, this Sashimono banner on the back, extremely iconic for Japanese warfare. I'm so glad it got represented in the game. Oh shit, this might look even better. Oh man, am I gonna do it? Am I gonna supplant the unit I just said it was the best looking unit in the whole game? I think I'm gonna do it. No, I'm not gonna do it. It is more historically accurate, but like as historically inaccurate as it is to have Japanese horses with that heavy barding, I cannot deny that it looks really good in the game. When you see these guys zoomed out at the distance, they look really badass. They look like they can take over everything. Yeah, the Bannerman is top tier though. It looks definitely one of the better looking knights in the whole game. All right, well, that is it. That's everything. So to summarize, at the very top, we've got the Japanese knight units, the mounted samurai, as well as the Bannerman. They've got the drip. The Rus, the Order of the Dragon, and the Ottoman knight units are close runner-ups, all very top tier in their own right. All of these units look a lot more amazing in game compared to the zoomed up versions where they're really pixelated. Byzantine Cataphract, absolutely delicious. The French Royal Knight, delicious. HRE Castle Men-at-Arms, delicious. English Imperial Age Men-at-Arms, delicious. Delhi Imperial Age Men-at-Arms, also delicious. Keshiks, nice. Chinese Lancers, nice. Abbasids, nice. Camel Lancers, they're nice. They're nice too, I guess. The English King, this thing's just dopey. And then lastly, in the trash, we need to see these sofas get reworked. I need to see a name change. I need to see some different armor patterns that don't look like they come out of Benin. This could use another revisit. And then the Absolute worst is the Imperial Guard for Drushi's Legacy, because this is just some made up bullshit that is taking the spot of what could be a much cooler unit. Alright, that is it from me, guys. What do you guys think about this list? Do you guys agree? How would you guys rank them yourselves? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, stay frosty, stay chilly.